Are you always basically doing something different with your hair?
I kept it red for like 2 years, but like I've always wanted to do it blue.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. Um, I am one of six kids, and I have a twin sister, and all of us have been swimming since we were
Okay.
like little babies. Um, and we all like I swam all throughout high school. In high school, I played water polo too, and I still play water polo now at Cincinnati.
Oh, okay. Cool. Man, that's water polo is hardcore, man. It's like that is like one of the most like wearing. I see people, something like in their 60s. This lady, she'll just get in the pool and she'll just do like 8, 10 laps. I'm like, I make it like once across the pool, and I'm fairly in shape. I think I'm like dying. So
Yeah, I was a distance swimmer too. So my events were like the 500, which is 20 laps, and the mile, which is 66 laps.
oh my goodness, that's not even fun at that point. That's just work.
I like the mile because I can just like think about what's ever going on in my brain. Like if I swim just a 50, that's like 2 laps. It's like there's no room for error. But like in the mile, I feel like I could mess up a few times. It's fine.
Gives you space to, yeah, mess up. I like that.
Everyone always assumes it's um like TV or movies, but I kind of want to get more into like internet like content. Um,
Hmm.
because I feel like in internet content you kind of have more creative liberty.
Yeah,
And so I'm looking for, the ability to be like creative in what I do.
yeah, not just jumping something just because you're technically in the industry, but then you're just like churning out stuff. Or yeah, I think we linked up on a Facebook group from
Yep,
UC because I've been taking classes through the digital media program as well, and so I think we just shot it out there to say, hey, we're looking for folks to jump in. So
that was kind of a time where I was thinking about like experiential learning, stuff like that, and like getting actual experience
yeah,
in the field. Um, but I was very nervous, very scared um, to even like submit like the like say like I want to work. And
yeah.
so I did. I talked to my friend a lot, and I was like, well, should I do it? And she was like, yes. And I was like, well, are you sure? She's like, yes. And so I
That's a good friend.
did. Yeah. Um, and then I did. I put down that I would be interested in being a production assistant. And then the first day on set, um, I was still very scared. I like have had this idea in my brain that was like, all right, this is a one shot business. You do one thing wrong and you're out. Um, Obviously, that is not how it was. But I showed up and I was scared. Um, but like as things started going, as I started like meeting and like learning about all of the people there,
Yeah.
it helped me feel like a lot more comfortable. Um,
Hmm.
and also in that like more comfortable making mistakes.
Well, there's parts of it that are just going to be scary no matter what. Do you think there's anything that I could have done or the team could have done to make it uh, even more even more easy for you to jump in and feel and or feel comfortable or feel comfortable making mistakes, especially as we do future projects where we continue to want to bring on new people who don't have any in-field experience but don't want them to feel like you know so I don't know if there's anything we could do to improve that.
Well, actually, I think it was either the first day or the second day. It was in the first weekend, but I was outside with the craft service, and then um, I think it was Jimmy who like came and switched me out, and like I was able to go inside where you guys were
Hmm.
filming. And that's when I was able to like start doing stuff and like seeing like everything in action.
Yeah.
Um, and I think just like that first weekend, being able to like just watch and kind of like observe, um, and then like helping out where I could,
Okay.
made me feel like more comfortable. Like I kind of got
Yeah.
like eased into it.
Yeah.
I was gonna
So
be
kind
scared no matter what.
of, yeah, there's no way around that. But yeah, having like an easy place for somebody to jump into where they don't have some sort of huge responsibility and they feel like they're going to fail. So just where you can kind of watch and like say, okay, I see people doing this, and you get the tone of the set to hopefully realize that, yeah, no one's getting yelled at by the director. So that's good. He's not screaming and cursing at people and
I
kicking
could
them off the
not
set.
imagine you screaming at anyone.
Yeah. So, and that's good because I know that, people have different ideas and experiences of what a set looks like. And some people have had bad experiences of like, but obviously we were there to have fun and everybody's volunteering. So that, the level is, the expectations are a little lower because, it's not costing tens of thousands of dollars every hour to shoot. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I definitely sensed that when you came on. I was like, and you along with several others were, new to, being on sets, and so I sensed that and wanted to make people feel comfortable. But then there was this additional pressure of like, well, we've got to actually shoot things and accomplish things too. So I didn't want it to be too like lackadaisical. So, um, but I remember I was debriefing with Matt after the first weekend, and then my wife too, who's very wise, and just reminded me to continue to give people permission to take action and make mistakes. So I think I had a conversation with Amanda like, I still wish some people would show some more initiative. And she said, well, they might be afraid they're going to screw up and you're going to get mad. So you might need to tell them, I want you to take initiative, and if you mess up and make a bad decision, I'm okay with that. I prefer action over. And so I think I had some of those conversations to give you all space to do that. Otherwise, it's like, well, I'm not going to just like jump in and do something and then mess things up. But
Right.
it was good learning. It was a good learning for me. We were all learning a lot on that first weekend. So, what were some of the parts that you enjoyed doing the most?
Um, well, I really liked Script Supervisor, um,
Hmm.
mostly because I didn't really have to talk. I don't like talking, which is why I appreciated the opportunity to do the slate, but that I don't have like a loud voice, and so like I always noticed that
Yeah.
whoever was like operating the audio would kind of have to like tilt it towards me when I slated. Um, so I liked doing script supervising because I like could write down stuff, and it felt like it was definitely like within my capabilities. And
Hmm.
as like it progressed, specifically there was one thing on the last weekend I think I like messed up. Um, I like called a scene like a different like letter or something.
Yeah.
Um, but like at that point, it was like the last weekend, and I'd been doing it for so long that like I felt like okay with making that mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of your role, just for the audience and people who aren't familiar with it, then for script supervisor, of course you've got the final shooting script, and it's got marked the scene numbers and all that, and you've got the shot list, and so as we're going through each shot and take, you're keeping track of all what we're on, all the details. You're also paying attention to continuity, which on a large movie set, there's several people on staff that are doing all of these things. But of course, you're doing them all. So you're paying attention to continuity, things that people say that don't match the script, making sure they match from take to take. And then also just keeping it organized. A big part of it is organization. and that is a huge help to me. We would not have finished, and we would have forgotten things. Like, it's just, I can't stress how critical that role is. Um, and then when the editor goes into edit, now he's got all that documentation, and it all matches up with how we actually shot it. So, I mean, that is not a throwaway production assistant role where, like, oh, he let you be a part of the movie, and but like it's a big deal. And so I was really proud of you jumping in there, and because of course Matt had just learned it himself, and so then he
Mhm.
trained you, and I thought, you were right in your, it felt like you were in your sweet spot, and so that's really cool to be able to land on that, because I don't think we would have known to do that had you not actually been around and see how it's done, and you're like, oh, I can do that. You mentioned when you're swimming, having time to think in space for making mistakes, and then you mentioned even in the roles on the movie, having space to make mistakes. So tell me, like, for you, how does that shape into how you're making decisions day in and day out? Is that something that is usually part of your thinking, like you just don't want to mess up, and how do you kind of overcome that and still like try new things and achieve things?
Uh, yeah, without going into like 5 years of therapy, I just like am
The
just
therapy,
like
that's good. Everybody needs therapy.
I just get like I have like bad anxiety where I just worry about like disappointing other people, and like if I do something wrong, that like like again, like that's it, like I'm out if I
Yeah,
do one thing
you're not going
wrong.
to get another shot. Yeah.
um but and so that's what I think makes it scary for me to do like things that I've never done before, because
Hmm.
in my mind there's like a wider margin of like error, or like there's like um more like likelihood that I will mess up. um
Yeah.
but like with swimming and with like Script Supervisor, I practice those things like Script Supervisor every weekend, and like I swam for like 12 years of my life, and so
Hmm.
like I like became comfortable with those things, and so that kind of gave me the space to feel like I could make mistakes. Being able to look back on experiences where I have made mistakes
Hmm.
and it like didn't happen like my
Yeah.
brain was telling me it would,
Yeah. And things
is
didn't
reassuring.
explode. Yeah. People didn't hate
Right.
you.
The world
Yeah.
didn't end.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's really good. So my Amanda, my wife, is a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So she sees patients all day long at Lender Center. She struggles with general anxiety disorder, and has been to therapy. Um, and so she doesn't do therapy with her patients necessarily. There's different therapists on staff. She manages meds and things like that for them. But over the years, she's been doing a lot of writing on anxiety, um, particularly um, just kind of like coping with general anxiety. Our kids have both struggled with that. And so normalizing it, calling it out. But she's just been doing some really great work on that. So I'll shoot you a link to just some stuff for her. It just would be interesting maybe to follow up on. But it sounds like
Yeah, I'd love to.
yeah, it sounds like you've identified that as like, okay, this is a part of my life. So here are ways that I'm gonna overcome it. And it's, at least from what I've heard, it's not an overnight thing, and also is never quite a final thing. It's not like, oh, one day I'll just won't be anxious at all. Like, that's just
Right. You're
not a
always
thing.
working on it.
Yes, it's always working.
And like
So
especially for me, if I like don't do something for a while, so like the grocery store for some reason is like so scary to me. I go like every weekend or like every Friday with my roommates,
yeah.
and I like eventually start feeling fine, but then like I don't go for a week or two for one reason or another, and then I'm just like right back to the beginning. I'm so nervous to go in.
Is it like all of the all of the choices and the people and the just like
It's
the
all of the
stimuli?
people.
Yeah, all the people.
All of the people are like, I know exactly what I'm getting. I know
Yeah,
exactly where it is, and I will
yeah.
uh, shove you aside to get to it.
That's some real fears right there, actually. That's I can identify with that because I don't like going to the grocery store and I get food ordered most of the time. I just think we just have it shipped to our house. It's funny. Well, Julie, it was just a real treat to have you on set and see you grow, and that was just a big goal and vision of the movie. And I've said this on every conversation I've had with everybody. It's how I end it. I'm not doing this on purpose, but uh, a big goal of the movie was not just, oh, let's get a thing together so that we can show it to people, and then the people who watch it experience some hope. It really is like everybody who's a part of it gets to grow and build relationships and find out things that they could do that they didn't think they could do. And for me, that builds hope because it's like, okay, that builds hope for the future. Not that things are going to be easy or better necessarily, but just that we can get through those with relationship. And so I've been encouraged to see that play out in really small ways. And it's not me. I mean, it's the team, and I give credit to a lot of them for Matt and for leading people well. If it was just me, it would have been chaos. um, so yeah, I'm glad it seemed to be helpful to everyone that was involved, and I'm excited to see the final product and then also
Me
see
too.
future things that you may put out. I would encourage you, especially if you're interested in the digital content realm, just find that space to where you can start creating stuff on your own. Especially if it doesn't involve you talking on camera like that kind of, if it's more of just creating stuff. And so I'd be happy to pull you in future stuff if you're interested. And because that's what I think it sounds like, especially for you, repetition breeds, confidence and comfort level and
Yep.
just
Yeah.
a lot of reps. And so like, even for me going in and directing what for me was one of the bigger things that I've ever tried to direct or take on and produce. But once I was in it, it actually wasn't that bad because I had kind of shot and directed so many little things over the years, just hundreds of videos that I've produced. So it was all the repetition. Whereas if I just like jumped in it, I would have been, I don't know what would have happened, but I probably would have just died. So, but I felt from an anxiety standpoint, and it's not really a daily struggle for me. It's usually more like an acute thing. And that's really common with basically being a human when you're in a scenario that you're like, I think I'm going to mess this up. And I felt that several times, especially when there was lots of extras, like there in the church, like I would feel this thing creeping up in me, like you've got to make a decision immediately right now, Joe, and don't mess this up and don't take too long. But it's like, and everybody's looking at me, and it's like, especially if it's quiet, everything's quiet, and it's like, oh my goodness. So I can feel then the crew and the cast looking at me, thinking, I feel really bad for that guy. He's like that's all like running through my head while I'm trying to make a creative decision. So it doesn't go away, but yeah, you just find ways to cope with it. Good. Well, thanks so much for jumping in and gracing us with your presence, and we'll keep in touch when things come out. So
Yeah.